And I'm sure a lot of people are curious that, you're a former mailman.
Yeah. Well, like a lot of people that get started in real estate investing, I was just a regular blue collar worker. But I met my wife at the post office and she let me know that a mailman's salary was not going to provide the kind of lifestyle she wanted to have. So,
Really?
yeah, yeah, believe it or not. So we had to fix that real quick.
What's going on, everybody? I'm here with actually Tom Nardone, the millionaire mailman, and we're going to get to exactly how that came about. We're actually at a private lending event, Dealmaker 2025. Jim Ingersoll put it together and has an incredible event with so many incredible speakers, Jeff Watson, Jeff. So we're going to get right into, kind of how did this come about and how did you get started?
So I was lucky that my early mentors in this business, and I'm 65 now, so I started in real estate investing back when I was 25. But back in 1985, when I was 25, we didn't have cell phones, we didn't have internet, we didn't have.
I was born in '86, so.
Oh, okay. So, there's a lot of things we didn't have, but we did have the U.S. mail. So my early mentors said, hey, you're in neighborhoods all day long. You either drive around, you walk around, you see houses all day long while you're on the job. You need to, track down vacant houses, try to find out where the owners went and see if you can buy their house at a good deal. So that's how I got started.
Wow.
Yeah.
So 40,
Yeah.
how long have you been investing now? So yeah, about 40 plus years.
Yeah. 40 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah. I bought my very first rent house in 1985, the year you were born.
1986. One year before I was born.
Year before you were born.
Yeah. Wow. That's incredible. So, what does that progression look like from buying your first rental to kind of where you're at now? I know we were having lunch briefly and you were talking about now you're doing new mobile homes on land. But let's talk about, how you buy your first rental property over the years and kind of where you're at now. Let's kind of fill that gap a little bit. What did that look like? So
Sure. Well, due to the fact that, I would see all this privy information at the post office, because as we said, there was no internet, but I had the forwarding addresses through the postal records that I could find out where people went. So I kind of had like an unfair advantage over other investors, if you want to call it that, because
you can see.
they couldn't find out that information. So I would track down where the owners went. I'd send them postcards. All the neighbors in the neighborhood usually, for the most part, like the mailman. They know the mailman when you're a regular guy. So they would tell me where the people went. So, I just call people up and see if they wanted to sell the house they left behind. So what that did for me was I had very little lead generation expense. I was buying houses that were on my mail route. And it took me about 12 years, but 12 years later, when I was in my 30s, all of a sudden I woke up one day and I had about 36 rental houses all on my mail routes. And I was stressed. I had a lot of management to do. I was trying to do everything myself. So I realized, this long-term buy and hold game is a good game, but I can't do the post office anymore. So that had to go. So then I started getting into fixing and flipping after I left the job.
I'd like to, kind of ask you how because a lot of people are like wanting to get started, right? And they're like, well, I don't have very much capital, maybe. I don't have a lot of resources. How did you get the financing or how did you pay for those 37 rentals along your journey? What did that look like?
That's an excellent question. And the answer is very similar to what you see going now in today's world with subject to. Back then, we had a crisis called the savings and loan crisis in the 80s.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like that foreclosure debacle we had about 12 or 15 years ago, where a lot of people are just giving their keys back to the bank and they were just walking away from their homes. So again, here I am, the mailman. I would see people, pull up with a moving truck. I'm like, well, hey, what do you want me to do with your mail? Where are you going? They're like, oh, we can't afford this house no more. We're just going to give the keys back to the bank. And I'd be like, well, wait a second, but don't just give it back to the bank. I said, if you give me your coupon book, way back in the day, they had little coupons you tear off and there was your mortgage payment book. And I'd say, Give me your little mortgage payment coupon book. I'll make the payments for you. And this way you'll save your credit rather than just let the house go back to the bank. So I took title subject to homes. It's not subject to is not a new concept. We were doing this back in the 80s.
Yeah, I know a lot of people, say, this is yeah, I mean, it's been going around for so long.
Forever, yeah.
So that's how you started is, being able to leverage and keeping that loan in place and just basically managing the property,
Yeah.
making sure you cleaned it up, put a nice, tenant in there, and then you started fixing and flipping,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
How did that go?
Well, I did about 300 fix and flips over the decades. It didn't happen in a year. I know some guys are big volume guys, but I just, methodically doing like 10 houses a year or so over a 30 or 40-year period. And then I got to the point where I was ready to shift to a different business model. Well, one day I just got so fed up with all the new rules that the building department was throwing at us in Pompano Beach. I'm originally from the Fort Lauderdale,
Okay.
Pompano Beach area of Florida. And the closer you live to the coast, the tougher the rules are at the building department. So a rehab got to become a big, complicated deal with permits and all that stuff. And they were watching, they were driving around looking, the code guys. So I switched to mobile homes. And now my model today is buy a piece of land, anywhere from say $30,000 to $50,000, and sometimes even cheaper, and buy a brand new mobile home and put it on the lot and then sell it. And for some magical reason, you take a $50,000 lot and a $100,000 mobile home, you could sell it for $250
Man.
by putting that combination together. And it's not a big deal to put that combination together. There's not one trip to Home Depot.
Yeah.
Is what I like
No,
about it.
yeah, I really like that. Obviously, you flipped a lot of houses and, there's a lot of people that become flippers, but I don't know if it's the first year, the first flip, or the 1,000 flip. Somewhere along the journey, everybody that I met eventually gets tired and burned out. And I like the model of not having to worry about you're going to make 20 trips to Lowe's or Home Depot, and having the fact that it's a brand new house. And like you said, you're creating equity, right? I mean, you're $50,000 lot, and mobile homes, I know can range in pricing, but there's a decent amount of equity. And I'm in Dallas Fort Worth area, and I can definitely tell you that it's getting harder and harder, with affordable housing and even a mobile home. I can definitely see that all day long being a 250 plus. I was just speaking to a friend, Goodwin. He's out in California, and he was telling me out there it's $500,000 for a mobile home with land. So
Wow.
pretty interesting. So one thing that I like to ask you, because I'm interested in, I mean, I've actually sat down at an event a few months or a year ago where somebody was talking about mobile homes on land. So let's talk about what that kind of looks like and some of the things that people need to be aware of, making sure that, number one, that mobile home is able to be on that land. I know there's something called, from my knowledge, a perk test, because where I'm at, there's a lot of septics. Sometimes you get lucky and, there's going to be city sewer, but what are some of the things that maybe people need to be aware of or look at?
Yeah. Well, that's a great question. And, it's really, really simple on how I look for the right target areas to do this. I just simply go to Zillow, and there's a little drop down menu that says home type. And it usually says single family, co-ops, apartment buildings, and all that stuff. Just uncheck everything except for manufactured. And then don't look at what's for sale, but look at what's sold and closed on Zillow,
Mm-hmm.
and look for manufactured homes. And you can do it, works in all areas of the country
Right.
that have sold and closed for between 200 to 350,000. So that'll show you an area that's nearby you. Of course, we want to try to pick a market that works closest to maybe where your home is.
Right.
So that's my first line of what to look for. And then the second line I look for is, we are here in Florida, and as I jokingly said earlier today or yesterday, we have a cleansing process for mobile homes, which is called hurricanes. It blows apart the old ones and
Yeah.
just takes them out. So if I see an old power pole and a set of steps and maybe a pad, I could tell, hey, there was one time a mobile home there before, whether a hurricane took it out or a fire took it out. That person may be interested in selling. And because there was a mobile home there once before, more than likely the zoning for that will still be in place that you can, you know, put a mobile home on there. You can't just put a mobile home right smack dab in the middle of a single family house neighborhood. You got to
Right.
check with zoning first. But again, the shortcut to that is just using Zillow. If you see homes that have just recently sold, and you see homes for sale that are manufactured, then you know that subdivision, it's okay to have manufactured, right?
Right.
Real
So
simple.
yeah, that kind of answers my question is you're looking for lots and land where there was an existing mobile home and it got washed away, you know.
Mhm.
I mean, out in North Texas, it doesn't really happen very much, but I mean, obviously there is storms, tornadoes
Yeah,
mostly.
Hurricane Harvey, I remember that.
So yeah, so key is looking for neighborhoods where there's your existing mobile homes, and then you just got to go in there and seeing, you know, mobile homes that are torn down. I mean, do you ever buy it, you know, lots that where the mobile home needs to get a match lit where it's just a tear down and then you just replace it? Is that what you do?
That's another great question, and that's another twist to my model is I have gone in and bought a mobile home on the land, and I'm like, well, we're just going to scrape this off with a bulldozer and put a brand new one because I don't want to be, you know,
Right.
dealing with fix-up people. But when I get in there, I go, you know, it really is not that bad after all.
Right.
So if I paid like 50 for it, what if I threw it back on the market for 99,000 and offered to sell or finance this to somebody for say 30 years fully fixed rate,
Right.
you know, a 30-year fully amortizing mortgage at say 10%. Well, there will be people, you'd be surprised, that'll take it in as is condition without having to do a single thing to it. And because they're just happy to have somebody that will finance them, as
Right.
long as they got a decent, you know,
Down
down
payment.
payment, they have the knowledge to do the work. It's, you know, a lot of times people, you know, who are shopping that price range are fixer uppers.
Contractors.
Yeah, as they have the skills to do it. So that cuts their overhead way down, and they could do it, you know, while they live there and fix it up theoretically. So and that works also. So I've done that before. It's just held the financing on it, and then, by the way, if you, let's say you paid 50 for that and you've got 50,000 trapped in the property, then you can do what we talked about at this event. We're here, you know,
Right.
all to talk about holding notes and paper and
Yeah.
stuff. Then you could always sell a partial of that to get your money back in your pocket and do it again.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, no, that's similar to what we do. I mean, that's what we like to do is originate notes and um, you know, I don't know what you kind of require for a down payment, but I know for us we want to get a decent amount of money down. You know, typically probably we average 15 to 17% down. Making sure obviously like you said they have skin in the game and they're more than grateful and happy. Like you said, it's a win-win situation for you. I mean, you obviously have instant equity when you sell it, you have a good note, you do good underwriting, and they're extremely grateful and happy. And a lot of times for us, they're crying at the closing table because you gave them an opportunity that everybody else wouldn't
yeah,
in a home where they can go in there, bring in some sweat equity, and maybe it cost them $25,000 or 20 or 15 to fix it up.
sure.
They got a 200,000, you know, $200,000 property that they can sell down the road, or you know, a little bit more, maybe 160. I don't know, but they have equity, so it's a win-win situation. So that's a great model.
It is. It is. And it's not necessarily, you know, the mobile home park model where you're going in and fixing up something that they're not going to own and
Right.
get into a lot rent. And there's nothing wrong with that, but my specialty is like scattered lots in different
Right.
parts of the county so that when that owner does get in there, they got the pride of ownership that they own the land and the home together
Yeah.
as one.
Yeah, no, I mean,
Yeah.
we prefer like that model as well. We don't really like to buy. I mean, I know some people do, and you know, there's obviously different strategies for different scenarios.
Yeah.
But we had a situation where I had actually my landscaper um, lived in a mobile home park, and he had been r- paying lot rent for like, you know, 20 plus years or so, and he's like, Omero, I need to buy a house. I'm sick and tired of paying lot rent. I used to pay a few $100s. I'm paying $800 for lot rent.
Yeah.
And I mean, I can hear my neighbor. I mean, they're right next to each other. So we found a house. Well, actually, one of my friend's house wanted to carry paper, fix the house to do owner financing. And that's what we did. So
Good play.
yeah, good play. Yeah.
Yeah.
A win-win situation for everybody. You know, at the end of the day, that's something that is a common denominator, and I hear a lot at this event is creating situations and deals where everybody's happy, everybody wins,
Yeah.
and you know, we're able to bless, bless a lot of lives along the way.
I
Right.
agree. I agree. And you can try to sweeten it up from your perspective as a lender, maybe throw a 3 or 5 year balloon in there and try to force them to refinance out. But I'm just giving them 30-year fixed rate
Yeah.
because I'm getting into my final, quarter of life, you can say. So I want the payments to carry out. If they carry out till I'm age 95, that's
Right.
fine.
I mean, we're the same way. We don't put balloons. I mean, we actually prefer and like to be able to set it up once, and that's what we like creating long-term paper, is because we can do a job once, do underwriting, and then you can get paid. We really don't want them to, honestly, to refi. I know sometimes some of the questions that people are asking, whenever you're carrying in or promoting financing is, man, I'd like to get my money a little bit quicker. I don't want to finance somebody for 30 years, but you have way more experience than I have. Most of the times, if you write something at 20, 30 years, do most of those people go to that route, or what is your experience?
Most people will probably refinance you out, but at 10% interest, which I'm charging, in today's environment of seven something
Right,
percent, it's not that painful.
right,
That's 2.5% over and above. What I like about it is, as banks have figured this out, you know, centuries ago, that the first 10 or 15 years, not much rolls off that principal.
right.
So it's basically all profit, all that interest up front.
Yeah,
And then one day when they do go to refi you out, the payoff is almost what you sold them the house for to start with. So,
yeah,
they come up with, and that's just the way, that's not ripping anybody off,
right.
by the way.
But just
If you've never seen a 30-year amortization schedule,
no,
not much comes off the principal for the first 10 or 15 years.
yeah,
So it just, the payoff is what the payoff is. You're almost getting the full price of the house back,
yeah,
if it should cash out at any time. So yeah, I agree with it. It's in place. Let it be there.
yeah.
No.
So one thing that I did want to ask you, and I would have liked to ask a few more people, but especially you, Tom, that have this much experience in the field. And we'll get to, I don't know, it sounds like you have, some sort of coaching or mentorship or resource where people can learn. And we'll get to that in a second. But somebody with your experience, what's the reason that you came to this event or come to these events with so much experience?
Yeah, good question. Well, there's a lot of sharp people in this room, and there's a lot of people who are lender focused. They have dollars in their retirement accounts and so forth that they want to lend out. And that kind of naturally brings a smarter person to the room. So, you could sharpen your sword and learn new skills and tricks, and knowing that, a good third of this event was taught by an attorney. I
Right.
really wanted to get Jeff's paperwork as well. So, you want to have the right documents in place to make this business, go as smooth as possible. So I was anxious to get the documents and also just pick up tips from all the different lenders that are in the room. And I never stopped going to events. I've been going to, and I can't count the books I have from different seminar and, real estate events over the years, but the numbers in the hundreds over a 40-year period.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a question that I wanted to ask you is, I mean, obviously there's no way for us to find a number, but, you know, maybe an idea of what would you think as far as an investment dollar amount? What have you invested over the years in events? What would you say that number is?
Man, I'm gonna say, if I had to put a number on it, 150 to 200,000 somewhere. Yeah.
150,
Yeah.
$200,000.
Yeah.
And it's sometimes silly for us, whoever, right, to think, man, I don't know if I want to pay $800, $1,000 for a training.
Right.
You want to make millions, hundreds of thousands. You don't want to spend $1,000. It's a little silly. And like you said, I was talking to somebody earlier. I was blown away, and I said the paperwork Jeff Watson provided,
Yeah.
the documents alone are worth 3, 4x than probably what the ticket cost to
Sure.
come here.
Sure.
And a lot of times, people sometimes give you general knowledge, general information of, yeah, this, but the amount of details in the paperwork and what we got exposed to and hearing the different questions from people that are more experienced was just incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. It really was. And that there's a lot of value that comes with that, to know that we could take those documents, get them, reviewed by your own lawyer in your state
Right.
where you're going to use them, and take those. And those are tools for doing the business.
Yeah, exactly. So, the other thing that I wanted to, kind of ask you about as well is you were on stage, you were actually a speaker on one of the panels. And one of the things that you mentioned is that I think on a cruise or cruises, along with the amazing Quincy Long that has changed so many lives, helped so many people in the IRA space and people that started IRA companies, just incredible person, a go-giver, just amazing, amazing human being. You mentioned you raised 7 figures or
Yeah, seven figures multiple times. Yeah,
multiple times
yeah.
at these events.
Yeah, just well, I was referring back to cruises that I would go on that were investor oriented, and and another guy, Walter, together they partnered and did those cruises over a decade or more. And I started attending those cruises, which I found out were a better value than most masterminds, because I've paid as much as $20,000 to be in masterminds as well, which I guess also is in that pile of education
Right.
amount that we discussed earlier. So, but what I found about the cruises is, man, you get to go on a really nice vacation for the cost of like a Royal Caribbean
Yeah.
ticket, and a lot of times just a couple $100 conference fee.
Yeah.
So,
Again, nothing really.
right, right. But we all know we just had COVID a couple of years ago, and it kind of shut the cruising industry down. So, the two of those guys didn't want to do it anymore. So we didn't want to see the cruises die on the vine. So we kind of picked up the torch and ran with it from there. And we retitled the group as Investor Addicts.
Okay.
Our website is investoraddicts.com.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you where people
Yeah.
can find out. So
Yeah.
investoraddicts.com.
Investor attic. So that's kind of attic over the roof of your garage. It's like an attic where you love real estate
Right.
so
Yeah.
much you can't
An
get out.
obsession.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's investoraddicts.com. And we have a cruise leaving in 30 days from now out of
Wow.
Fort Lauderdale on February 22nd, 2025. And we do have the 2026 cruise. I think it's also leaving from Fort Lauderdale a year from now. So if next month doesn't work out for anybody hearing this about this, they could always jump in 2026. So, hey, love to have you. We can fit a lot of people on board, and but it's a real intimate group. That all the times that we're at sea and we're traveling to our destination, we're in seminars very similar to what we've experienced here the last 3 days. And many of the speakers that you saw here, some of them, Jim Ingersoll himself
Wow.
is going to be one of our speakers on this next cruise in February 2025. So,
So I'm gonna have to convince my wife and see if I can make it on. I mean, I know there's a lot of events coming up, so I'm gonna try to make that one in March. How many people would? Oh, February. Oh yeah, February. Sorry.
coming soon.
Yeah, coming soon. So right around the corner. So February. Um, how many people typically come to these events? How many we?
Yeah, this one we had 92 registered last I checked.
Wow.
So it's a sizable
Yeah.
group.
Yeah.
And we wine and dine together. And going back to raising capital, in the beginning, because Quincy was, obviously was a founder of Quest Trust Company, and therefore he had a following of Quest account holders.
Right.
So those people tend to have, money in retirement accounts they need to deploy and put to work out there.
Right.
And then you'd have new investors that are like, well, I don't know where to get the money from, but I have deal flow. And they just don't know where to get the money. So, deal flow needs money. It's a happy marriage of the two together.
Right.
So, back when I was, not so much when I was starting, but when I was looking for money for deals, I started attending those cruises thinking like, wow, all I got to do is, go to dinner, tell people what I do. And ultimately they turn to you and say, well, that sounds really interesting. If you ever need any dollars for your transactions, let me know.
It almost probably seemed too easy.
Yeah, it is. So when you're when you're in captivity on a ship for 7 days with someone, and you get to stroll around on the islands and go to a few shows together and eat dinner together, and of course sit in the trainings that we provide, it's just a real golden opportunity to um, to make connections. And the lending partners and financial friends and funding sources that I met on those cruises are people that'll be friends for life. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I agree. I mean, I know that some of the events that we've been a part of, I mean, I know, my good friend and partner Joe, I met at an event, and you know, you make those. It's not the funny thing is, a lot of times when we're first getting started, we think that it's all about the deal and the dollars,
Yeah.
and that's cool. We're gonna get there. We're gonna make it, but it's the lifelong relationships
Yeah.
and friendships that you carry that are lifelong, you know, and sometimes generational, where our kids or friends, and you know, they get together and they just keep growing, you know, generational wealth, and it's incredible. So and so it's a cruise for a few days, and throughout the day, I'm sure that, you know, there's certain topics covered, and you know, trainings.
Absolutely.
So you got Jim Ingersoll. What are some of the other speakers that you have, do you know?
Yeah, I believe we have Chuck Glover again.
Okay, wow.
Tom
Incredible story.
Olsen,
Tom Olson.
yeah, Tom Berry.
Oh wow.
Um,
Oh, you got some heavy hitters.
Michael Hicks has also been a speaker. Christy Osterkamp was in the room today. Oh, pardon me. I've got a long list. I just don't have it written down. Randy Hughes. Um, well, myself, I usually do a training or two.
Wow.
And
What are you going to be speaking on?
I'm going to be speaking on a couple different things. The mobile home business model that I kind
Oh,
of
we got a
described,
flyer here.
but in
Yeah, we
deeper
actually got a
detail.
flyer here.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, well, to give you specifics on the
dates?
February cruise, it's February 22nd. I believe it comes back on March 1st or 2nd, and we're going to Curacao, Aruba, and Coco Cay in the Bahamas, and it leaves and arrives back in Fort Lauderdale. So Fort Lauderdale itself is a beautiful place. I've lived there for decades myself. So yeah, it's a real fun event. Next year's event is January 31st. 2026. That's going to be on the Celebrity Eclipse, also leaving from Fort Lauderdale. And that's going to go to St. Martin, Puerto Rico, and Dominican Republic, and return back to Fort Lauderdale.
Awesome.
So it's going to be a fun time.
Yeah, we'll make sure to put your website in the link so people can register and, you know, not miss it out. That event can change your life. That one connection, that one idea, that one resource that you're looking for is in that cruise. So if you can make it, definitely register, take the action. If you're thinking about it, you just got to do it. You just got to do it.
I
I mean,
agree.
so many people, you know, want to do something and never end up doing anything. And they've been wanting to invest in real estate for 10 years.
Right, right.
How many of those people have you met?
Lots of them, lots of them. But it's all really about relationships. No, when people get to know you and spend time with you, which is what the ship provides, is that environment, then it's all about the relationships.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'd like to know a little bit about, you know, kind of what you offer. You know, I know you mentioned, you know, you got some students, and what does that look like? What can people find out more about that? And, you know, is it something that's virtual? Is it in person? What does that look like?
Yeah, good question. I've done coaching and mentoring over the years too. I've literally had over probably 1,000 students that I've mentored over the years.
Wow.
During COVID, though, I kind of took a little bit of a break off
Yeah.
from that because people weren't gathering in groups necessarily,
Yeah.
and but I'm resparking that up now. So I do take on a qualifying basis. I want to make sure you have the resources to do what you need to do, and so that we could do this successfully.
Right.
But I can also connect you with a home. I can get you a very wholesale cost on the home. So there's a couple benefits to uh, the coaching that I offer that's very hands-on. We'll find a market that works for you close to wherever it is that you live. Analyze it, figure out what would be a good deal there, and help you get it all set up. And sometimes I do just, kind of off the cuff field trips. I've always got deals that I'm doing and working on in my area of Southwest Florida. So, you're welcome to come down and spend a day or two with me. I'll give you a real hands-on approach.
Cool.
We'll take the airboat out for an airboat ride. Some gators. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, who knows? Maybe I'll take you up on that. Yeah, I know I'm going to be in Orlando for another week. Like I said, we're planning on leaving on Thursday with my family, so we'll spend a couple of days. But yeah, no, I mean that's exciting. So it's in person, hands-on training. I like that. You know, I think that's the best way to learn. You know, people are always like, you know, there's theory, and I've heard this and I read this, but there's nothing like hands-on, first-hand experience, and especially being able to walk with somebody that knows exactly what they're doing.
Yeah. And I could show you real live case studies.
Sure.
You're welcome to come to my hometown, and we'll walk you through them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Do you have a case study off the top of your head, maybe that you did last year that was,
Well,
an interesting one or?
yeah. Well, we did two this year. One of them we're just wrapping up now is um, because our market actually slowed down where I'm specifically at for build to sell. That market is kind of there's a lot of days on
No.
market involved in
What's
marketing.
happening in a lot of markets.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I switched the model a little bit to build to rent. So, but because we're near a coastal community, there's some mobile homes that I can buy that are beautiful on the inside. They'll make a great Airbnb.
Right.
So, you don't have to have panels with the little strips in the mobile home. You can get it fully drywalled. It looks like
Yeah.
any other home when you walk it.
Yeah.
So we're close to the beaches. We're close to the water. So I've been building now to do a DSCR loan, to take out the private loan. And the DSCR rates right now, if you're not familiar with DSCR loans, it's basically an investor loan
Right.
that you can get at a decent interest rate. And a lot of times in the sevens, they'll do manufactured.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, they'll do manufactured. So that allows me to pull the cash out to pay off the investor who put up the money to do the deal. And then we Airbnb the property.
That's a phenomenal model.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of people in, even in my community out always asking about that. So I'm curious. Um, I'm sure obviously just like anything, I'm sure there's restrictions on year build and whatnot. Do you know that? If there is, 1987 plus or, 2000 plus, what year mobile home,
For
for the DSCR?
Oh, it hasn't been a concern of mine because I'm always dealing with new anyway.
Okay.
So as soon as I get my certificate of occupancy and the home is set up, and it's the CO basically means all your permits are closed out, and this house is officially habitable as according to the building department.
Okay.
So then,
Oh yeah, that's right. There's new houses, so they're or new mobile homes. So
right. So once they're set up and I've got that CO, then a bank underwriter should love the fact that it's
yeah,
a brand new
brand new,
home.
brand new. Yeah, so you're probably getting 75% on it.
Yeah, average LTV, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of times I don't need 75 out of it
Yeah, you need
because my
65.
spreads
Yeah.
are, I'm sometimes fine with 60 or 65. Cheaper the interest rates get, and they're actually dropping for DSCR. I mean, you might as well take the full LTV and get from the lender, but that's kind of another strategy.
Yeah. Oh, it's a great model. Cool. Well, I mean, I definitely appreciate you spending, a few minutes with us, and, we'll make sure to put all your information. So where can people follow you? So I know you mentioned you have a YouTube channel. What is your YouTube channel name?
I apologize. If you just Google Tom Nardone, Millionaire Mailman, it comes right up.
Okay.
So, and you'll find my YouTube channel.
Awesome.
And and if they need to reach me, probably the best way to reach me is simply email me. It's Tom Nardone, that's N as in Nancy, Ardone, Tom Nardone, my name, at me.com. That's M as in Mary, E as in Edward.
.com.
Yeah.
Awesome. Any last minute thoughts that you like to share, and when somebody that's wanting to get started, but maybe just doesn't know where they should get started?
Yeah. No, good point. Don't let money be your hurdle. If you can find a deal and all the numbers match up and they make good enough sense, then the money's never a problem. If the deal's good enough, the money's never a problem. That seems to be most new people getting started is their hurdle, is the financial part of it. But that's where you need financial friends that could look over your shoulder. They'll let you know if they're putting their dollars into the transaction that you're not going to make a mistake. So it takes that fear away. It's two heads looking over a deal as opposed to one. So so don't let money hold you back.
Yeah.
That'd be my advice.
No, I see that a lot as well. I mean, there's a perfect example with Chuck Glover, who at 70 years old started in this business with very little to no money, and now has done incredibly well. He was telling me he was just in a bad financial situation, and several years previously he had lost his house in a foreclosure, and he just didn't have capital, but he got into the right room with the right people, with those financial partners, and that was incredibly successful. And I would just say, don't make excuses. I'm too young. I don't have experience. in my 70s, it's too late. A lot of people say that all these things all the time, but these are perfect life living examples of incredibly successful people by being a part of the right community and the right group. So I know that you're going to have an incredible event at these cruise ships, these cruises, and I know that I will be at one. I don't know if it'll be this one, but I'm excited to go to them because I've been wanting to go. I think Bill Cook, I don't
and Bill and Kim Cook are
oh
two of
wow.
our he'll be one of our speakers as well. Bring him to the tip.
Yeah, no, I know
Reminder.
he was in the room, him and his wife, Bill. Yeah, Bill Cook was in the room, and they're just so many experiences. They have so much experience with just all the mentors and just incredible people that we've got a chance to be around. So
Yeah,
awesome,
great group of folks.
appreciate it. We'll catch you guys on the next video.
Thank you, Homero.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Pleasure.